Hi, everyone. It's Professor Anderson, and this is our live Zoom session. This is the only one we'll have this quarter. It's a little different than last quarter. And I just want to go over some things that are important to keep in mind, especially the first week and the second week of class as we start. Let me go ahead and get right to it. This shouldn't take too long, as long as there aren't a lot of questions. And if you can't join, obviously I'll put the recording up right after we get done, so everyone can get all the information. Although most of this information you will be able to find somewhere else in the course program. It's just easier for me to tell it to you all in one place. All right, let me find this. Okay, the first thing that I want to make sure everyone is aware of is the drop add period and how they are different from withdrawals. The drop add is always the first 4 days of a quarter. So this quarter, it is August 15th to August 18th. And those are the days that you can contact your graduation coach to either add classes or drop classes. Professors don't drop students. So if you email me wanting to get out of the class, I can't do that for you. You have to talk to your graduation coach, previously called advisor. And then withdrawals happen after the drop add period ends. So if you need to stop the class after the 18th, it'll be considered a withdrawal. You can withdraw up until 1 week prior to the end of the term. So for fall one, the withdrawal deadline will be October 4th because the term ends 1 week after that. And there are two types of withdrawals. There's an IU withdrawal, and that is also known as a non-attendance withdrawal. It's when students don't participate in a graded activity for 12 or more days. In that case, they are withdrawn by the professor and they receive a grade of IU, which is comparable to an F. Any graded activity for that 12-day period, that means discussion forum posts. So you can post in a discussion forum and it'll count towards your attendance. That can be a skill building activity post, as well as quizzes, exams, or essays, of course. All participation in those graded activities count towards your attendance. So you just don't want to not do any of that stuff for 12 days. For example, logging into the course doesn't count, viewing pages. If a quiz is a practice quiz, that doesn't count as a graded activity. Anything non-graded won't count towards that attendance period. And then a W withdrawal, that occurs when you make the decision to drop the class. It's not from a lack of attendance. So that'll be when you email me and you request to be withdrawn from the class with a grade of W. And that is only valid if you haven't already passed that 12-day period. You have to email me before the 12-day period is up without a graded activity for that to be a W. Okay, and then let's talk a little bit about the impact and consequences of withdrawals. If you have to leave a course before it ends, a drop at the beginning of the term during the drop add period is preferable over a withdrawal because a withdrawal counts against your attempted hours if you're receiving financial aid. A drop does not. So, but if you do ever have to withdraw from a class, a W is preferable to an IU because the W won't affect your GPA. However, it can adversely affect your financial aid and it still counts as attempted course hours. So you always want to contact your graduation coach before making the decision to withdraw from a class. And even if a course attempt ends in withdrawal, it's better to stay in the course as long as reasonably possible versus withdrawing early on in the quarter. So you do have a lot of time to see if you can get your grade back up. Like I said, you can withdraw until 1 week before the course ends. So it is better for you to, stick it out and try and see if you can raise that grade to drop early on in the quarter. And it can also help you prepare for success in taking the class in a future quarter if you familiarize yourself with as much of the material as possible before you attempt the class at a later time. And of course, the best option of all is always to try to complete the course with a passing grade. Okay, I want to talk a little bit about discussion forums. We will have those every week. And let's see, for week one, the deadline is a little bit different. Usually the initial posts in a discussion forum will be due on Wednesdays, but the first week is a little bit different. It's due on Friday this time. So if you want to know more about discussion forum guidelines, there is the discussion forum guidelines section of the course syllabus. That's a good place to start. The frequently asked questions link on the main page also has information about discussion forums. And also you should definitely check out the rubric, the discussion forum grading rubric, and you can find that inside the grading rubrics folder on the main course page. And if you look over all that stuff and you have any questions, go ahead and reach out to me through email or message. And one thing I want to say about discussion forums is a lot of people have questions about replying to peers. You have to reply to 2 peers in each discussion forum. And basically, you want to make that a meaningful discussion. That's how I grade it. The responses have to be relevant to the course material. They have to be meaningful, and encouragement, and great post, I agree with you. Those things don't count towards being meaningful or relevant. So you can't repeat what the poster said. You can't tell, you can say they did a good job and stuff, just know that that doesn't really count towards the response. You also have to include something that furthers the conversation, the discussion in some way. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the online resources for the class. We have this really great service called Smart Thinking, and that is free tutoring 24/7. You can log on and get tutoring at any time. You can upload your papers. They'll look at rough drafts of your papers. And like I said, it's completely free. So there is no reason not to use it if you want to. And so the link to that is on the course page. And on the course page, you will also find the MLA how-to guide. For English classes, you'll always use MLA format. And it can be a little tricky to figure out at first, but we'll write a bunch of papers, and by the end of the class, you all will be experts at MLA format. But when you're starting out, if you have any questions, go ahead and check out the MLA how-to guide and email me with any questions you have about that as well. Go ahead and also check out the student resources link. There's a lot of helpful information and tutorials on how to do different stuff in the class program. So that's a good thing to check out too. We also have a library FAQ and an Ask a Librarian feature where you can ask our GMC online librarian, his name is Ryan Taylor, and find out other things about researching in the library, which is something that we're going to do a lot this quarter. And if you ever want to email the GMC online librarian, his email address is rtaylor@gmc.edu. So you can ask him any questions you have about the library. And also if you have any questions about searching for sources, you can email me as well, and I can help you out. Let's see, what else did I want to go over? Oh, the late policy. You can also find this on the course page, but I kind of wanted to emphasize it. For Turnitin paper assignments, those are always going to be due on Sunday nights by 11:55 p.m., which is when the weeks officially end. And you'll upload it to Turnitin. And for the first Turnitin assignment that is late, you get a 24-hour grace period. So that means that there is one paper this quarter that you can turn in 24 hours late and not be penalized with a point deduction. And for that one, I don't think it'll let you upload it to Turnitin. So go ahead and email that to me as a PDF or a docx file. In fact, if you have any late papers, just go ahead and email them to me as soon as you can. So that will be for the first late Turnitin assignment. After that, it'll be 10 points off for a Monday submission, 20 points off for a Tuesday, 30 points for a Wednesday, and 40 points off for Thursday. And then after that, I will not accept the paper. So after Thursday, after the Sunday that it's due, I won't accept it anymore. Let's see, the skill building activities, they cannot be made up unless there is a valid documented excuse that is provided to me right away as soon as you can. But the lowest skill building activity grade is dropped at the end of the quarter. So that is awesome. Let's see, discussion forums. These also cannot be made up after the fact, pretty much no matter what, because it involves real-time conversation with your peers, and that's not something that you can do after the forum closes. But also the lowest discussion forum grade is dropped at the end of the quarter. So for both of those assignments, the ones that you receive the lowest grade on will be dropped. Exams and quizzes, they cannot be accepted late without a valid documented excuse, once again, given to me in a timely manner. Let's see. And then you can go to the late work policy to see what is considered a valid excuse and what is not considered a valid excuse. Okay, let's go over some stuff to keep in mind as you start writing. Pretty soon you guys are going to have your first response paper, so I do want to go over a few things. For papers and actually all assignments, this includes skill building activities and discussion forums. Do not use outside sources unless the assignment instructions specifically tell you to, especially for response papers and discussion forums. I want to know your thoughts. I don't want to know other people's thoughts. So don't look at the outside information, just go with your thoughts as you read the story, and don't use anything you find outside of those primary texts. Let's see, and here are some things to keep in mind for papers. I will post all of these in a checklist in discussion forums, and I'll also send them out their email, so you don't have to worry about writing all these down. Okay, so in the papers, you don't want to use contractions. So instead of don't, you want to write out do not. This just is more formal for academic writing. You do not want to include first and second person pronouns. This is another formality thing. So first person pronouns are I, me, are, those sorts of things. So you don't need to say, I think this is why the character does that. You can just say, this is why the character does that. You don't need to say I think, because you're writing the paper. So obviously I know you think it. And second person pronouns are you and your. And you don't want to include those just because, let me remember, I have an example of this. Because when people use those, it comes across like you are addressing the reader in a way that the reader might not feel. So if you say, you might think that, Louise does this because of this reason, that person might not. So you don't want to say you. So you will want to write in third person instead of first or second. And referencing the essay, you don't want to reference your essay. So you don't want to sound like a salesman. You don't want to say, in this essay, I will write about this, or for this essay, I chose this story. I will know all of those things just by reading your essay. Don't include questions in your writing, hypothetical questions. You want to turn those into statements. I would say it's rarely okay to include a question, just because statements are so much stronger than questions are. Basically, I'm looking for answers to questions, so you always want to provide the answers. So that's why you won't be asking a lot of questions in your paper. So for example, if you put, why did Louise seem happy about her husband's death if he doesn't seem like a bad guy? Instead of including that question in your paper, you would want to give the reason. I hope that makes sense. You don't want to just throw hypothetical questions out there. You want to be answering questions in your paper, not asking them. Let's see. Present tense. You always want to write in present tense. So instead of saying Hemingway wrote in his story, you will want to say Hemingway writes in his story, and so on. Quotation marks versus italics. Short stories are always going to be in quotation marks. And then TV shows, movies, and novels are in italics. Let's see here. The difference between quoting and paraphrasing. This is going to be really important because you're going to be required to do both in your papers. And quoting is when you are using exact words from the source. And so you show that by putting it in quotation marks, and then you'll put your MLA in text citation at the end. And this shows that word for word that's coming from your source. And then paraphrasing is when you take ideas from your source, but you're putting them in your own words. And you do not put quotation marks around that because it is not someone else's words, it's your words, but you still want to include the in-text citation at the end of that to show that it's a paraphrase. Let's see. Something that a lot of students always ask every quarter is, what is an okay Turnitin similarity rating? And I never give out a specific number because even if there's only a 5% similarity rating, that 5% still could be plagiarism. So I'm not going to give you a number, but I will say that it's generally accepted for 20% of your paper to be quotes that are supporting your argument. So if you see 20%, and it's all cited properly, then that is sort of a good range to be in. Let's see. I guess that is it for now. That'll get you through the first couple weeks. If you have Any questions about any of the information that I just gave out, go ahead and reach out to me through email or message. I am always here. I try to respond quickly, and I'm always here to help you get through these assignments. So definitely reach out. You're never bothering me if you have any questions. So just go ahead and reach out if you need something. All right, let's see if anyone has joined us and if anyone has any questions. Are there any questions before I go? All right, it looks like no one has any questions, so I'll go ahead and put the recording of this on the course page so that the people who aren't here can go ahead and look at it, or if you want to refresh yourself on some of the information, it'll be there as well. All right, thank you to those who joined, and like I said, let me know if you have any questions. Bye.